We all know what was the biggest release of this week, Kalki 2898. The movie, which was directed by Nag Ashwin, has already formed a lot of opinions positively among everyone, and also the play of Mahabharatam playing a huge part in the story itself and the future installments that could come after. In this video, I actually want to talk more about my rough thoughts about the film, but also talk about the potential that this movie could bring for the science fiction genre in Indian cinema, as it's a genre I feel is not being explored as much due to a lot of risk that it could not reach its potential audience in India. But in a way, how Kalki has opened up, I feel, why not? Let's just talk about it. I think Kalki 2898 has to not be only appreciated for its vision that it tried to pull off, but also the way it executed it to an extent. Because having a very rich lore, Mahabharatam, which is already being sacred for many people's eyes, and bringing it to a dystopian world is very, very tricky. But what Nag Ashwin does to an extent greatly is how he brings the characters from Mahabharatam and make them play a part in this story. The way they are being represented in just the first few minutes of the movie is pretty great. The way it establishes the tone of the movie was again fantastic, and even with the animation that goes after that, which is brutal, in many ways showcases about how much is in stake. And it does it greatly when we have rebels trying to find a way to go against the supreme Yaskin, which is known to be the main baddie for the whole movie. And the way they set up the tone, which is dark and brooding, is fantastic. That's what the movie does really well. When it gets serious, it does get serious, and it does not pull any punches. Even though the movie is pretty much rated PG-13, or it might not go to the level of brutality like some movies like even Bahubali or even movies like Salar has with previous Prabhas movies, nevertheless the movie does a good job on putting up what are the stakes and also showing the power that this has, a world that is already almost destroyed with no natural resources whatsoever. So you're already having a compelling story there, right? The thing is that Kalki also kind of shoots itself in the feet when it tries to be light-hearted also, with Bhairava's intro where he is known to be this lazy, but when he needs to be determined, he will be a determined bounty hunter. Him just playing around and with a very, very awkward fight choreography that happens in just the first fight itself. And to be very honest, it was something that was very worrying, because we do not want to be seeing such choreographies where people are just flying awkwardly around the air throughout a movie where you show that it can be an action film as well. Thankfully, it's just that one sequence only, and which is also one of the biggest problems, the first part itself. Even though it tries to develop the world of Kasi and also show about Yaskin's dictatorship among everyone and the disturbing things that happen with females that has to, produce babies and them taking the power out of them. But the thing is that the movie goes back and forth with its dark themes. Like, it goes dark and then goes with a light-hearted tone with Bhairava and his rent issue, and then his excitement to just go to complex. And the thing is that the first half do not really balance both of these tones properly. But the good thing, however, is once that world building is kind of done and the character building is done with the first half, the second half does not waste any time and goes full throttle with the storyline. Like, we have a lot of great action sequences, such as with the one with Ashwatthama, Amitabh Bachchan's character, and Bhairava, with a mix of a fun and yet serious fight sequence, which I felt kind of balanced it quite well. And then the climax fight sequence with the characters. I do not want to spoil which characters again. I do not want to spoil the climax. But again, the tone of the second half in many ways I felt was more balanced than the first half itself. But with how the second half's potential was, kind of wish that whatever they had done for the second half was also executed well for the first half as well. But the second half is already quite good enough that we are waiting for how the further installments can be. The technical aspect of the film has to be appreciated big time, from its visual effects to production design, even to an extent to the musical score. The production design really helps conveying how destroyed this world is. Just for people, just to get water or air is already a big trouble, and it shows in many ways or form where any resources is used. The way they have designed the world of Kasi, and even the way they have showcased complex, and even where they show how Supreme Yaskin and his people keep all the other females in a very constructed manner, but yet it looks eerie and dark. Again, the production design does a great job on just portraying that. And also the visual effects in many ways actually establish the world beautifully, especially at the background, and even certain visual effects such as the Shambhala's weapons getting transformed, or even at the beginning and even at some parts of Mahabharatam with how they showcase how each god used their weapons is a visual spectacle to see. The musical score done by Santosh Narayanan, in my opinion, for how much I'm a fan of his, kinda was a hit and miss in this case. There are some themes that really work big time in this movie, such as the theme for Kalki, and even the Bhairava's theme also I felt was enjoyable. The thing is that the way it was placed for Bhairava's theme felt a bit awkward with the fight sequence and how awkward it looked. But the theme of Kalki was placed brilliantly, especially before the interval. But there are certain times where you expect the songs or the themes to soar up high, but Santosh Narayanan keeps it in a more subtle manner. Like, instead of going more John Williams with the theme, he goes like Santosh Narayanan. Sometimes they are wacky, sometimes they are very eerie, but that is his style. But in a movie that is in this scale, kinda expected the theme to go high, like make us have all those goosebump moments. And even though it happened a few times, it's not all the time, especially for the climax. Like the final fight sequence, in my opinion, kinda needed a very strong background score, and it kinda lacked on it, unfortunately. And this becomes an issue on and off throughout the film, but it cannot be pushed away that certain themes for the movie is done really well. I kinda wish that it just had it very consistent throughout. But other than that, everything in the movie should be appreciated for how it was done, even from the makeup, costume design, etc. Because all what they have done is made us sell into how this world is. It is very evident that Kalki, even though did not satisfy to a lot of people's expectation to it, in some ways it also exceeded for certain people because of how much mixed talks there were before the movie's release in terms of its visual effects and even the concept, which is a very high and crazy concept. And many people were just wondering either it could just fall flat in its face like Prabhas previous movies like Saho or Radhe Shyam, or it could soar up high like Bahubali. And many people are surprised. If we see the reactions online, many people are surprised of how the movie is engaging, even though it's engaging only at the second half, where many people dreaded through the first half. And my opinions is also kind of the same. The first half, even though I do not hate it as much as how many people say it, because even though the tone was very imbalanced, it was a big distraction, make no mistake. But there were certain comedical scenes that were happening, especially with how Prabhas was acting like this carefree type of guy, which I felt was a very good change, and also was something that Prabhas was doing very well in his previous movie before Bahubali. Yes, it was a distraction to the bigger story of this film, but it was a welcome change nevertheless. But again, the first half was very slow and very imbalanced. But with how the second half is, it really gives a lot of potential to how the future sequels can be. And many people I know are waiting for it, including me. And with how much lore is with Mahabharatam, even with the way they have ended this film alone, definitely will make people excited. For people who have seen Mahabharatam in television or maybe read the books or even know a bit about Mahabharatam itself, will be even more excited because of how much they have incorporated incorporated that element into this film. There's a lot of potential that everybody is waiting for, so we just cross our fingers that Naga Ashwin will not disappoint us with the further installments. But then with that said, what is the potential that Kalki can do not only for its franchise itself, also for the genre of science fiction for Indian cinema? With how big a success that Kalki has been just on these 3 days alone, already shows the potential of what people are expecting from Indian cinema. And with having risk like Kalki, in a way, with how big of a success that Kalki has been just with a few days of box office collection, I think it not only shows about how much people are anticipating for something different and new. For the science fiction genre, I think it allows more filmmakers who are willing to dive into this genre even more and give more experimental, even more mainstream science fiction movies for the Indian cinema. Because science fiction is something that was on and off if we look at previous movies. I mean, the top of the head, if we think about Bollywood science fiction, the first few we remember is Kol Mil Gaya, Krish and all. Maybe in Kollywood we can have Indranale and the underrated 24 in my opinion. But then not so much comes up in our mind nevertheless. But then having Kalki being a huge success, which does a good balance of futuristic dystopian post-apocalyptic genre, but also bringing in our culture and making it relatable enough, actually found a way to relate to all the audiences, as much audiences, because there is responses where some felt it was complicated, where some do not know about Mahabharatam, but nevertheless it still took the risk. And having Kalki again like a success, and also with how they have promoted it, saying that it can be a universe of itself, actually in a way created its own franchise by not only having installments but also having potential for spin-offs for other characters. Like we could see stories about how Shambhala was created, like what made them actually go against Supreme Yaskin. You can see spin-off characters like the bounty hunters and see their stories. We can get comic books, we can get toys and all that, which I think they are working on, and you can just get so many content with just this franchise alone. And having this done, I think it also encourages other filmmakers to create their own science fiction genres, science fiction genre movies, and also create a decent impact or even a bigger impact in the Indian cinema, because there are so many stories that includes science fiction elements but also incorporates the mythology into it. And I do not know if many people remember, but there is a Hindi film with Ashwatthama and also bringing in a post-apocalyptic genre to it, which was initially supposed to be done by the director who did Uri and starring Vicky Kaushal, but I think now is done with Shahid Kapoor, I think. But then there are so many ideas as such, I believe, that many filmmakers have, and there are many comic books that also have done this too in in the comic book realms in India, which we might or might not know, or there might be brand new ideas that can be showcased. And having this movie's success there could actually bring all of these ideas out. And to be very honest, I guess we all should be ready for that, because once a trend is started, it will just go on, and this is one trend that I am actually excited to see for. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I know I might be sounding that I'm just blabbering throughout, and yep, that's kind of true, but I'm hoping that I will work on it even more and give a more smoother experience with the future videos that I'll be doing for this channel. And if you like this video, please do give a like and also do share it around to the people that you know. And for more content, please do subscribe to this channel. And yes, I'm definitely will be working more on the video qualities as well. And yeah, I just hope you guys give as much support as possible, and I'll see you guys at the next video with a different topic. Ciao.